We're back to the Neil Haley Show, and I'm always excited about talking to LegalSoft, especially the team at LegalSoft. And I'm excited to welcome the Vice President of LegalSoft, Nathan Sumekh. Nathan, thanks for stopping by. And you're going to break things down further with LegalSoft. We've talked about in the last couple of episodes, just specifically enough, how you're the one-stop shop for legal entities. Legal firms know that they can get anything handled when it comes to their legal needs and be able to scale a company. I mean, to scale a law firm, how important is to scale a law firm? Especially when you're looking at the bottom line, you get to a certain point where you're running out of time in the day, you're never able to see family, you're able to do different things, which I've had conversations with some of your clients about.
Oh, absolutely.
It's true, right?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, a lot of times you're running around doing things, not seeing your family, because you're doing repetitive tasks that you should be passing off to someone else. There's so many times attorneys are buried and they can't take on more work, and they can't spend their time doing important tasks and actually closing out cases because they're stuck collecting documents, not following up with clients, or answering client phone calls. So I'm very excited to dive into our topics today to see how we can help solve some of those problems.
No doubt. And you think about specifically, you talked about that, especially about the pain points. We talk about pain points for any business. And this is the business thing, is that law firms have lots of challenges. And to get the right staffing themselves, especially when they got so much going on, say, okay, you know what, I can't do as much sales right now or marketing because I'm busy in the operations side trying to bring the right players in, then I can do it. Well, what LegalSoft does is able to help in many areas, but we're going to talk about staffing, first of all, especially virtual staffing. Kind of explain what LegalSoft does.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing a huge shift in the market when it comes to staffing. We see a lot of attorneys, one of the biggest bottlenecks is always staffing. And you hear, time and time again that firms don't even want to grow anymore because the challenges of staffing and the challenges of managing staff have just been so draining on them. And so we're excited that we launched the LegalSoft remote and virtual staff, where we have trained staff overseas who are trained in the case management softwares, in the legal industries. They've seen templated documents and they've seen all the sample documents. So whenever the firm wants to scale up and grow, they can have 2 or 3 additional case managers, receptionists, or intake staff join their team within a week. And they're not in office, they're overseas and remote. So really an extension of your firm, and growing and managing this team is so much easier. We're seeing huge shifts in the markets because ordinarily firms are going to recruiting organizations who will charge 10 to 15 to 20% to find staff, or they're hiring local staff who are jumping from job to job, and they're getting an extra $10,000 just to switch to a different firm, and it's so easily poached. And what we're seeing is, there's a huge shift in firms now going virtual, and they're building teams around their strongest key team members. So if you have that in-office team member who's getting you the highest of settlements, building cases, really building your clientele and your client name and your firm name, we're now building teams around that top staff. We're taking away from that top staff from having to collect documents, follow up with clients, open up new claims, and we're saving them 30 to 40% of their time with getting 2 assistants under them, so their focus is building cases and closing out cases. What's happening now is you're seeing those staff become so effective and efficient that you're settling cases much faster and for much higher case value. So the way that firms are scaling now is different. Whenever you have a high cost of staff locally, you want to branch out, you want to have that additional staff have their own caseload. But now that you're able to scale up your internal staff, you can have that staff have 1 or 2 assistants under them to help really scale them up and let them settle more cases. With our organization, if I can dive into it a little bit, Neil, we have about 7 different office locations. So we have 7 physical office locations globally, where we have a compliance team in that country to make sure everything is compliant, NDAs, and as secure as possible. And then we do over 1,000 applicants every single day who come in. We interview about 150 of them, and then we put them through a training program. Wow. And a lot of other organizations The crazy thing is they'll just give you a random person into your business who they met a week ago. For us, all of our agents go through a new hire training program, and they go through our compliance team, and they're vetted to be sure you're getting the right hire for organization and not just a random person overseas who you really have no background on. So we're seeing some huge shifts in the market. They're really adopting this. They're loving it, and they're coming back. It's getting 2 more, 3 more in all areas of the firm, from intake, which is answering that phone call, receptionist work. We don't want the case managers boggled down with intake and calls coming in. And then it goes into the case managers. Then it goes into document collection, drafting demand letters, negotiating liens, or doing discovery and motions. And we actually recently launched our remote staff and our overseas attorneys. So now we have about 50 trained attorneys every single month who cost your firm, around $2,700 for full-time attorney overseas, who can help you with motions, discovery, more complex demand letters, and legal research. And this has been huge for the market. We have a little bit of a wait list right now, but it's been a huge thing for the market right now.
Well, see, this is so much stuff you've mentioned, Nathan, and I want to break down specifically one thing that you talked about. I guess with, again, having attorneys overseas, how does that work for a law firm that wants to hire an attorney overseas?
Yeah, no, great point. So for attorneys overseas, you're able to really find someone who they won't be able to file in the U.S., but they're able to act as an attorney or act as a legal assistant. So it's a very high level paralegal or very high level litigation assistant who can help on some of your bigger cases, who can help with legal research, motions, discovery, demands, and they really take off that huge load from some of your more senior attorneys to help with that legal research, and they're always available. And the one thing to note is they're very, very hungry and driven. So compared to getting a legal assistant who just graduated law school, you're now hiring a full-time dedicated attorney overseas for $2,700 who's been practicing for like 5, 6, 7 years or more, compared to getting a recent college grad who has no experience, and you're paying them $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month, and you're really training them a lot. And so we're getting these orders in by the 4 or 5 at a time who can help with the assistant, litigation, paralegal works.
That's really interesting. And talking about the training and the scaling, having the opportunities, as I was talking to some really satisfied clients this week on my show, I'm like, wow, it's because a lot of times when you want to go with virtual assistants or paralegals or receptionists, and they are not, overseas, you're dealing with a lot of issues where they could leave really quickly. Then they're keeping them longer, making sure they're part of the family, and you never have that. And then you don't have someone like LegalSoft that's able to help in the process to make things work well. Like, right, you train them well, but you make sure that they're happy. And as Hamid was talking about last week, you really make sure that you give them incentive to stay with you, right?
Yeah. One of the biggest focuses we've been doing over the last 5 years is really how do we create and how do we take this whole program to the next level and ensure that this works for every law firm? And it starts with the 200 plus staff that we have. The 200 plus staff are there from making sure we build that culture and we build that career growth opportunity for overseas agents from the start. And we have things in place, like we're building communities overseas. We're launching LegalSoft.impact. We have all of our health insurance plans. We're launching retirement plans, career growth plans, and eventually immigration plans if the agents want to move here. So we're not just creating a staffing agency, but really a community where overseas staff can seek job opportunities here with LegalSoft. And we're really pairing them with a perfect law firm, right? Who can get the agent on board, have that career growth opportunity, and eventually, hopefully one day retire with that law firm. We're seeing these staff become integral parts of these attorneys and their practices, and they're building teams under them. Retention is one of the highest things that we pay attention to, which is why Whenever we're challenged, how do we improve it and grow it more? We created the 7 different office locations in 7 countries, and it's really just the start.
Just the start. Okay, so what are the plans? You can't say, right?
We can dive into it. Working with the staff overseas, I know some attorneys are looking for physical office locations. They're looking for a little bit more hands-on training overseas, upskills training. They're looking for experts in the case management software. They're looking for so many things clients are coming back to us with, and we love bouncing ideas back with our clients and seeing how we can take this thing to the next level.
It's such great things. When do you feel that a law firm is ready to scale? Is there specific things in your experience being in this industry that they're ready for this next phase?
Yeah, I think businesses as a whole, I think, are really shifting, and when it's time to scale. And I think whenever an office has figured out a formula that works, it's time to invest in getting a staff overseas to start to pass off certain parts of the operation that are already working. So if you know that a new client comes in and you have to do these 10 steps and it's just repetitive, it's time to bring in that remote staff who can take on that repetitive task and free up 20-30% of your time so you can go on to building the next part of your firm, building cases, and really scaling out the rest of the operation. So when is it time to scale your practice? It's whenever you understand you have a great system in place and you just need to fill someone in who can handle that repetitive task so you can go build the rest of your operation. It's important not to wait too long. It's important to make sure you get that staff in there as soon as possible so you can continue growing the business.
What is some of the questions that potential clients ask you about going with LegalSoft when it comes to virtual staffing? Are there some concern questions? What kind of questions they ask, especially protection, things like that for their law firm? You talked about signing NDAs, but are there some certain questions that are always asked that are good ones to educate people today?
Absolutely. Security is always one of the biggest concerns in agent quality. For our organization, having the size of our organization and having some of the biggest clients in the country, security is at the core front of all of this. So whenever we're monitoring our agents, we're watching their screens, we're tracking the URLs. We have a compliance team who does the background checks, and we have offices with backup servers to make sure everything is secure as possible. So on our security side, we try to be the leading staffing agency for law firms on the security side and staff quality. Our goal is by the end of the year to have 200 trained staff every single month ready for clients to interview. So if they want to have a trained case manager in any practice area, they're trained, they're ready for you to hire, and you can hire 2, 3 at a time. Or if you need a replacement or anything like that, we have that available. So then 24 hours, that's there. And so that's the goal of LegalSoft, and that's where we're headed.
All right. So one of the things I wanted to ask is specifically because I see this in how you need systems in place, have pretty much a run book in place, meaning you have to really understand the system of your law firm. And that's something also LegalSoft can help you with, is specifically, are you on the right track in scaling? And that's something else you do we could talk about in our time. But then the process of understanding specifically enough, what are the phases? How do you train your team to understand the phases what a law firm needs? That's such an important part.
It's a very important part. And I was blown away when I saw what our team was developing. We've hired experts in training who have been doing this for 20, 30 years. And it really starts from the core law firm org charts, where they get to see the organizational structure of law firms and where cases go, and then also the workflow of each law firm. So we're talking about workers' comp, we're talking about personal injury. They're going through that entire workflow of how a case comes in, what is the client going through, what are the client's experiences, what are common questions that clients ask, what are some questions they'll have about the retainer. Whenever we sign up the client, what do we do? If it's an extremely high value client, what should we do? So we break down every single step of a law firm operational structure and their workflow, and break that down to the agents. And we continuously train this agent. Even once they're placed, we can always go back in and continue the training program, so they get more and more well-versed in the training.
So such great things. Where's the best place people can go if they want to schedule a call with you guys today?
Yeah, going to our website is always the best way. If you go to our website and you click, request a call, or you give us a call, you get connected to one of our team members to definitely schedule a call, and we can do more of a consultation and see if it's a perfect fit for anyone's law firm.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, Nathan, to kind of explain that one area. As I said, I want to break down the multiple areas of what LegalSoft's able to do, but it's the one-stop shop, as I believe, for law firms to really grow, scale, and do that. And I love the fact that you guys look at, and specifically the tracking, the system, it's all these different things, and you create a system for them. And that's very unlikely for an agency to be able to create a system for a law firm. And that's what you guys do, and that's why you guys keep growing, and you're going to have more and more offices and more clients as you guys continue to grow. So we appreciate you coming by.
Absolutely. We appreciate it, Neil. Thanks so much for having us today.
You're welcome. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.